That's it. NASCAR threw down the hammer on Austin Dillon. His playoff eligibility is gone. We're going to have to talk about this because it's a bit, I guess we'll say, unprecedented for the way NASCAR has handled this. I would like to say before we get too far into it, buy your tickets to the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix using my promo code DavidLand20. The link to that is in the description. We're also doing the DL500 Club at 8 p.m. Eastern over on my Patreon page, so check that out if you're interested. But the big story today is that NASCAR has stripped Austin Dillon of his playoff eligibility after one of the most egregious two-car takeouts I've ever seen for a race win. But they didn't take the win away, which is very interesting. In fact, my exact prediction in the first video I made about this situation is that the spotter who told Austin Dillon to wreck Denny Hamlin would be suspended. He'd be fined. He'd lose owner points. Dillon would be put on probation, but he would keep the win and the playoff eligibility. And really, if we look at Bob Pockrass's tweet about this, the only thing that I got wrong is that he wouldn't keep the playoff eligibility. So he keeps the win, but not the playoff berth. They were both docked 25 points. So not only was Dillon docked 25 driver points, but the team was docked 25 owner points. The spotter, I would like to just predict that one, that the spotter would get suspended. He got suspended for 3 races. And Joey Logano fined $50,000. And a lot of people are kind of asking, or might be asking, why that was. But I talked about it in my last video. For some reason, NASCAR let a whole bunch of children out onto the pit lane while there were still race cars running. And Joey Logano, because he was pissed off, was doing burnouts and almost hit the family of Austin Dillon. So Joey Logano penalized $50,000 for violating the NASCAR member code of conduct on pit lane, and that was for that incident with the family of Austin Dillon. I think Johnny Morris, who owns Bass Pro Shops, is down there too. So that could have been a heck of a lot worse. And it's interesting that the NASCAR social media people picked that particular photo of Joey Logano. Another interesting thing about the NASCAR Twitter account was that just until a few minutes ago, the NASCAR description on their Twitter account said Austin Dillon punches his ticket to the playoffs, which obviously hasn't happened anymore. But something that I think is good that NASCAR did here is that they got VP of competition Elton Sawyer to kind of explain some of this. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to put the old headphones on, and we're going to react to what Elton Sawyer had to say about the penalty to Austin Dillon. I'll pause it as we go through this 3-minute video and kind of talk through it, the different points. But I think it's interesting to hear it from Elton, and I'll just kind of react to it as this video goes on.
Diving deeper into the penalty on the 3 team. What I'm understanding is they get to keep the win. However, it does not qualify them for the playoffs.
Correct.
That's exactly right. Again, it's 25 driver and owner points. Still keep their win, their trophy, all the purse that comes with that, but they're not eligible for the playoffs based off that win.
So SMT showed intention.
In our view, that crossed the line.
Interesting.
Without a doubt.
So it's interesting that the determination of what is and isn't playoff worthy is intention. Now, this would seem to me that this is a new standard, because I think of many different intentional accidents throughout NASCAR's playoff era that I almost said NASCAR's playoff error. Actually, you know what? That's right. NASCAR's playoff error that have gone unpunished. So this would seem to be a new standard. I can't say it's a bad thing. And I think Elton's about to kind of give us an explanation about what exactly is line crossing to them.
Again, our sport has been based on, strong emotions. Mm-hmm. It's been based off, win and you're in.
Well, that's only been since 2014.
From a sanctioning body that has crossed the line from a standpoint that compromises the integrity of our playoff format as well as our championship, we are going to get involved.
So there's okay, that's a hell of a statement. Because again, I suppose they got involved with the Hail Melon, and like that was the greatest thing that could never happen again. Like, I don't think there was any reason to like penalize Ross Chastain for that, but NASCAR did step in and say you can't do that anymore. But I think if you look at, and I guess I'm really judging this off of the mid 2000s. And I mean, we've seen a lot of it more recently, but pretty much 2014 on, we've seen a lot of intentionality, a lot of dumb things happening to get in the playoffs and to, you know, move up around or down around in the playoffs. You know, it's definitely an ideological change. I guess thanks Austin Dillon for kind of crossing the line so far that NASCAR has finally kind of realized that they need to make sure their championship is still legitimate. But I'm surprised they let it get to this point.
The data also showed, in your opinion, that the 3-car and the 11-car, that contact also crossed the line.
Yeah, I think, again, if you look at everything that happened as the 3 and the 22 entered turn 3, and then as on the exit of 4 with the 3 and the 11, the total body of work, if you will, the information that we gathered through all of that led us to the conclusion that we came to on the penalties.
Why couldn't the
So pretty much that's an admission. I mean, he's very politically correct about it. And actually credit to Kim Kuhn for kind of putting the words in his mouth. Both of those wrecks, based on the data and based on what NASCAR looked at, intentional, 2 intentional crashes. So all of this talk about, well, Denny moved up, that's not what NASCAR found.
call be made immediately after the race, during post-race?
It's a good question.
Yeah, great question.
Oh, thanks.
The magnitude
You owe
of
me a
this
Coke,
decision needed us to get back, get all the information, be able to work with all of our stakeholders, work with the folks in the industry, have a great deal of experience, gather all of that information, and then sit down and make a NASCAR decision, and that's what we did.
Hang on a second. The NASCAR decision, so I guess I don't understand how you can do something that's so egregious that you lose playoff eligibility but don't lose a win. I guess that's something that I'm now thinking about, and I'm kind of scratching my head and saying, how is that possible? That there's something that bad that you can be eliminated from championship contention, but the win still... And I get NASCAR has generally had a policy of the driver who crosses the finish line first, or who the fans see cross the finish line first, you don't take the win away from them. But
starting Sunday night, gathering the information, meeting again on Monday, as well as yesterday, and finally last night coming to a conclusion of where we landed on the
needed.
You mentioned the integrity of the sport. There could have been different penalties that were levied on the 3 team. The severity of the penalties we're seeing on the 3, was that directly to maintain the integrity of NASCAR?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, this is not something that NASCAR really wants to get in the middle of. For years, we've allowed our drivers, and we will continue to allow them to race. Every one of the drivers in those National Series garages, Cup level, Xfinity level, and truck level, they understand where the line is. You know, they may ask from time to time, where is the line? I guarantee you, when you walk through there and you ask them, they will know where it is. So we just felt like in this case, we needed to let them know that we know where the line is as well. And this is not something that we're going to tolerate.
Wow. Okay. Again, so I guess this is the only thing that I really have a problem with. I think Kim Kuhn did a great job with the questions. I mean, obviously, I'm sure they were cleared, but they were good questions, and Elton Sawyer answered them as well as he could. Yeah, the only question that I really have, and I guess wish would have been asked in that situation, is if something is so egregious that the integrity of the sport is on the line and you're crossing a line, then why not absolutely throw the book at someone? I guess the only thing that I can say would be that Austin Dillon in that situation doesn't value the race win as much as the playoff thing. And frankly, NASCAR and the teams, I mean, I talked about it in my Brickyard 400 coverage. It seems like the only thing that matters anymore is the playoffs, and individual race wins don't matter at all. So based on the way NASCAR is now, I guess this is the most severe penalty you could levy at someone. And probably in NASCAR's mind, and correctly so, the only reason Austin Dillon did what he did and was as desperate as he was and was as destructive as he was in that desperation was to make the playoffs after being 32nd in points. So, yeah, kind of... I don't know how I feel about this. I mean, I'm kind of curious to see what the comments section has to say about this. I guess I'm pleased to see that NASCAR took action on both this and the Joey Logano thing. I would like to see them clean the pit lane up a little bit more. Really, we don't need infants and toddlers and children in the pits, especially when they're not wearing protective uniforms. But yeah, I'm very, very curious how people feel about taking a playoff eligibility away without taking the race win away. Let me know down in the comments.